As I'm sure you guys are all aware, a few days ago on Thursday, 343 came out and they expanded on the armor coding system that we saw as part of those brand deal leaks a few weeks ago. And so basically, I brought Rocket Sloth on and we're just going to discuss the whole system and kind of what we think about it.
Hello.
So far, what I know about the coding system is that it's perfect and no one's upset.
I think that's right. So before we hop in, I figured I would kind of give a brief rundown of the little bit of information that we have, and then just in case, you guys haven't seen all the info. So the basic premise is that in Halo Infinite, they're getting rid of the primary and secondary color system that they've used since Halo 2, I believe, and instead they're replacing it with what they're calling armor coatings, which will be, from what we can tell, preset colors that you apply over armor or vehicles that also have different patterns and different materials. And really, that's basically all the info we have. There's been Unishek on Twitter. He kind of expanded a little bit, but if I'm being honest with you, most of his tweets were pretty vague, and I really don't think they added anything of note other than saying like, hey, we're not trying to take away player expression, blah, blah, blah. So that's the gist of it. If you want to read the whole post, you can go find it on the Halo Waypoint page. It's only a couple paragraphs, so I'm not going to read the whole thing for you guys. So with that said, why don't we hop into kind of how we feel about it, and I'll kick it over to whichever of you wants to talk first.
Okay, so I read through the main posts of everything with the armor coating first before I realized that there was kind of like an internal explosion or implosion. What would be the right term for that on social media when it comes to the Halo fan base overall?
Outrage?
Yeah, outrage would probably be a good way to put it. And I think it's very interesting as someone who really likes customization in Halo, and I don't feel like maybe I got upset or as upset as I maybe should have. I feel like with how many people are really, really upset over this, I personally should be feeling a lot worse about it than I am. So I'm still trying to wrap my head around the whole situation and the significance of it. But from my understanding, at the very least, we can all agree that there's a very, very large portion of the Halo fan base who feels like this change is very important to Halo as a game. And I think that that's a good starting point, maybe looking at how the impact of this will, how important it is for the people who do think this is such a very highly regarded issue.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. Yeah, like you were kind of saying, I mean, customizing your Spartan has been a pretty core aspect of Halo. I would really say since Halo 3, because in Halo 2 you just picked a couple colors and that was about it. I didn't really think that was all that special, but since Halo 3, we've been able to pick all sorts of different armors, and then you could throw your colors on them, and you had your emblem, and you really could quote unquote like make your Spartan your own. And so I think a lot of the community is now worried that without being able to choose colors on their own, we're going to be shoehorned into preset colors and preset designs similar to something like Destiny. And one thing that I haven't seen clarified is the armor coating going to be for your whole Spartan, or is it going to be like Destiny where you can put one armor coating on your shoulders and like one on your legs? You know what I mean?
Right.
I thought it was like per piece of armor where you can change it, kind of like Destiny.
Okay.
But I guess
That's the impression
still,
I was under also,
yeah.
but I've seen people say that that's
very
not the case.
vague. I mean, the explanation is very vague, and
Right.
I've seen a lot of people say Destiny 2's shader system is bad and they don't want it, but like, is it really? I don't know.
See,
I mean, like,
I think here's the
it's
thing.
okay.
Destiny, in Destiny 2 and Destiny 1, and I'm just going to lump them together because I'm not a huge Destiny player, but I feel shaders have played a huge part in that game because there's a whole section of that player base that almost plays like fashion Destiny. Like, you find the coolest looking character and you find some rare shaders and you come up with like the coolest looking, what do you call your character in Destiny?
Yeah,
you're
Bungie,
Destiny man.
Yeah, Bungie holds like weekly fashion contests where they give out emblems and stuff. Like,
and so,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think with a system like this, if we're assuming it's going to be like the Destiny system, I think undeniably will be cooler looking Spartans that you're going to be able to create using this than the old system. The problem is the old system, other than the armors, was totally free, right? You just opened up the customization screen and you got all the colors. Where now what we've seen so far is they're going to wrap these coatings into like marketing deals where you have to go buy certain products, or I'm going to guarantee they're going to be part of microtransactions and battle passes and all sorts of stuff. And I feel like that's where a lot of the concern from the player base is coming from. There are people that are really, really peeved that they can't pick colors, but personally, from my end, I think the worry is more this is a worrying trend in terms of monetization than it is actually us losing customization. The only note I would make there is that unless 343 comes up with a really clean menu system, this is going to be a mess. because like if you think about all the colors we had in Halo 3 or Halo 4 or whatever, and I'm not going to do the math, but if you take all those colors and you take all the combinations that you can make with just base colors, dude, imagine if we had to have a separate coding for every single one of those color combinations. That's going to be a total mess. But assuming they come up with a menu system that makes that work, it's also just going to be weird if you launch up the game for the first time and you like want to make a red Spartan and you don't unlock red until like level 10 or something.
Right.
Well,
I think that's a really good point. Go ahead.
I assume like you'll still be red and blue by default, right? They're not gonna change that. So, which you are most of the time, anyways, right?
Well, that's if you're in Slayer, but when you're making your identity,
yeah,
the default is usually like a
like
a blackish gray.
Black, yeah.
At least in Reach, it's gray.
I think in MCC it's that weird shade of green. It's not like Master Chief green, but it's that like.
Well, I remember, Halo 3 had that like off green, but not Chief green.
Didn't have Chief green. Then in Halo 3.
I think what it is really though, and why the outrage is so large, because I think in itself, if they would have shown this in action, or like if we've even seen multiplayer, to be honest, at this point, we don't know anything about this game still, and instead we're getting like information, about how the customization and how possibly microtransactions are going to play into the game, and we don't even know the full extent of how the progression system works, what multiplayer is going to look like, whether the game's going to be reliant on things like a battle pass or other types of like stores and whatnot, because we haven't seen anything about the game itself. We haven't seen the game. All we're hearing about is just kind of like, these are some of the ideas we're having. And I think this is obviously something that's way past the idea stage. It's already implemented into whatever game they're building, but nobody in the Halo community knows what that looks like. And I think, yes, I understand like not having the full customization. It might be pretty bad. There might also though be some huge opportunities to have some of the coolest looking, Halo armor that we've ever seen in franchise history. But we also have to consider, like, if they're going to go with the free-to-play multiplayer approach, like they did with, or like Fortnite did with the Battle Royale and Call of Duty did with Warzone, it shows that type of marketplace where people are just able to outright buy skins and appearances for their characters, it's extremely lucrative, and it has allowed these games to continue to be a free-to-play type platform without having loot boxes, especially Fortnite. They got rid of their loot boxes and stuff. So I get the reasoning that 343 needed to make this pivot, right? Where you're looking at these more like the things that you're going to unlock, or the things that you would potentially buy, are going to be more like full-on skins that you can apply to different parts of your armor or to your whole Spartan set. But the thing is, it's this lack of communication and this lack of game, and it's just these like imaginative ideas that are now being implemented that we don't really know what it's going to look like at all.
Yeah, I totally agree there. I fully believe if this information hadn't come out until either A, the game was in beta, or B, the game was out, and people were able to see that full progression system and see the entire game, either one, it might not be as bad as people are thinking, or it would have been like a drop in the bucket. Like, oh, hey, here's Halo Infinite. Maybe it's good, maybe it's bad. They also changed the way you pick colors on your Spartan. But since it's the only thing to talk about, the community, and somewhat rightfully so, has latched onto that, and the community has noticed that they clearly took something away from previous games, and so far that's the information we have for Halo Infinite. Like, hey, here's your game. We took something away you guys used to have. That's it. Peace out. We'll talk to you in a couple months again.
Right, and that's literally what they essentially did. They just kind of dropped the information passively. They didn't try to focus in on it, but it very much became a huge talking point. But I think the main issue here is we don't know anything about what Halo Infinite really is going to be like at all. And it's hard to get people excited when all they're hearing are the things that are being removed from the game or taken away from the game, and we haven't even gotten a chance to begin to understand what the multiplayer side of things is even going to look like.
Yeah, no, I'm kind of with you there. I think had those like preset marketing deals if those hadn't come out with, like, wasn't Chips Ahoy the one that had the armor coating? I feel like if that hadn't have came out and showed the community armor coating, they would not have touched on this. But everyone was kind of like, people weren't in full panic mode when they saw that, but a lot of people were like, hey, we need more info on this. This could be bad. And 343 felt pressured to then give us more information on it. But now we just have that information in isolation. And it's like, well, this by itself really doesn't look good. But yeah.
Right. I think there's definitely a lot of people very much so upset. And I think the concern and being upset, like, anyone's allowed to have whatever feelings they have towards this. I think that's all fair, and it's fair for criticism. I do wonder, though, if possibly some people are jumping on the bandwagon a little bit maybe too early for getting ready to cancel Halo over this. It seems a lot of the responses, if you've looked on like the subreddit or Twitter, well, there's a range. I think there's a lot of really level-headed people voicing their concern, and I think that's fair. And I think it's good to, encourage 343 to have that conversation with the community, and show that they're listening to what the community wants, and at least even if they can't change something like this, right? In the matter of like what they need to do with what Microsoft is encouraging them to have for, how they're going to make a return on the money that they put into building this game. But even if they can't change certain things, being able to be aware of the concerns of the community would be really, really big too. Because then at least it shows like maybe it won't be as, kind of just scammy in a way that a lot of people are concerned of, that it's going to become this thing where, like, if you just want to be a basic color, you're going to have to, open your wallet. I think that's the big concern people are looking at. It's like, we're going to have an issue where, like, for anything to look good or any way you want your character to look, you're going to have to pretty much pay a bit of money. We don't know what it's going to actually look like, but I think that's why the concern is there.
You know how in Fortnite people meme on default skins? We're
gonna on bacon hairs.
We're gonna be memeing on people who are rocking like default green.
Exactly. I think 343 should really work at, maybe now would be a good time to start revealing something about the multiplayer at this point, or something about the features of the game. And it's really hard for 343 probably to make any decision as to what they want to reveal early, because it seems like if they show anything off of the game, the Halo community is quick to latch onto anything, and it gets spun into like bad PR, right? Like, they showed off the gameplay trailer that obviously had some pretty heavy backlash. Some of it rightfully so, some of it a little exaggerated. And I think now we have this other information. It's like the second a little bit of information drops, Halo community is quick to try to break it down and criticize it. And I mean, that's fair. It's a game. People are allowed to voice their opinions on it. But I do think that 343 has this extra level of concern when it comes to, should we or should we not reveal something? And maybe with the track record, they're choosing not to show us stuff because of that.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point. It's the problem, I think, when you trickle out information. When you trickle it out like this, every single piece of information that you trickle out is going to get looked at with a magnifying glass, because it's the only thing we have. Everyone is literally dying for Infinite related information or news. And as we continue to not get it, when anything comes out, people just, they jump on it, and rightfully so or not, when it's the only thing there and you have to analyze it in isolation, you might have come to a different conclusion if you were analyzing this in the full spectrum of Halo Infinite multiplayer. But in isolation, the armor coding system, it looks iffy on the monetization front, but on the customization front, it could be okay. It kind of depends, like you said, how do we unlock things? Like what's the menu system going to look like? Because like, I don't want to scroll through thousands of armor coatings to try and find one that's like colors I like. That sounds like AIDS.
I mean, yeah.
But one thing I kind of wanted to loop back on, Luke, where you mentioned like in Team Slayer, you're always red or blue. Yeah. One thing I kind of wonder, that with a system like this, do you think it's possible they get away from that? Whereas if you play Call of Duty or like Overwatch or Fortnite isn't really the same, but if you play other like Rainbow Six, if you play those other multiplayer shooters that exist, usually it signifies teams by like outlines or things like that. Because even like the new Call of Duty, you can play any of the operators. It doesn't matter what team you're on. Do you think it's possible Halo goes that route where you can use your armor coding regardless of if it's a team game or not, and they use some type of outline or name or something to signify who is and who isn't on your team?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a direction Halo could go. And I mean, that ties it back again to, though, they need to give people some like basic stuff that everybody has unlocked or everybody can unlock for free. Because, otherwise you're going to have a bunch of like same looking people running around. And even in Call of Duty, you have a bunch of free operators, like, I don't know, like let's say 10, maybe like 12, I don't know how many exact, that, you can make yourself look different right at the start.
Mm-hmm.
So there should be some basic colors. And I think that's what they might still do. Like, we'll have maybe like red, blue, green, yellow, orange, like the basic stuff still. And then the cool, like, battle-worn looking stuff, you might have to unlock through a battle pass or through some challenge, or I don't know. Like, I guess it all depends on how they implement it. But I think it's definitely possible that they get rid of the red versus blue. And I think it wouldn't be a bad change either.
I was talking with someone. Sorry, Elijah.
No, you're good. You're good. I'm fired up.
I don't know who it was on Twitter, but I got into a discussion about the red versus blue thing, and they were like, well, that's the end of Halo. And I'm like, that's not the hill to die on. I mean, red versus blue has been a part of Halo games, but like the color of, I guess this even goes into armor coding, but like the color of your character really isn't make or break if the game's going to be fun or not. No offense. Like, yeah. I understand it's important if you're like a machinima maker or you want your character to look cool in general, but I think if the game is fun, and this is where if we had more information, if the game's fun, I think this just gets swept under the rug. But who knows, right? What were you going to say, Elijah?
Yeah, no, I think the red versus blue thing, neither here nor there. I do think there is an importance to still preserve that feeling of the original Halo games in the multiplayer. So I think like having some sort of game type that still uses the red versus blue thing in one way or another, maybe like if they're going to change it, putting it in like the big team battle playlist where it's still reds versus blues, something like that, where in big team battle you're just one soldier amongst many other Spartans or whatever anyways.
Yeah.
And customization is probably not something you're like looking at of the other Spartans while you're playing as often. But I do think preserving the feeling of the original Halo games is still really important. But also adding on to what Luke said with how the customization should work and what they should have on day one, or what it should be for the people who don't pay money. I think, yeah, there's obviously going to be microtransactions, and there's obviously going to be the cooler skins that are going to be unlockable through progression and stuff. But I also think it's extremely important that Halo Infinite has a high level of customization that is that you're able to access without having to pay any money at all. And I think if they are going to have it where it's like, here are all the default skins that you can use, and maybe you can get a couple of other skins periodically without paying money. It works in other games. It doesn't work in Halo because it's going to be a step back from what Halo has had in the past, right? Because when you buy Halo Reach, Halo 4, Halo 5, you get a lot of armor just for playing the game without having to open up your wallet. And it needs to be a way where you're regularly getting some really awesome stuff without having to open up your wallet. And then there's occasionally something else that pops up that then you can unlock. But I don't think they should take away the idea of either, unlocking stuff by just playing the game a lot and grinding towards the stuff that you want. And they also should bring back the type of gear that's unlocked for doing special things like they had in Halo 3, whether it was like getting an achievement or working towards something and unlocking stuff that way also. I think if they take that out, like even with the armor coating or whatever debate there is, like the whole game is going to collapse on in itself, because that is one of the most integral parts that made Halo 3 Reach really, really successful.
I feel like, especially, and I know it's different teams that work on it, but like recently in MCC, they implemented that Recon Slayer sniper skin if you get rank 20. I feel like that might be a testing ground for like things in Infinite, like, yeah, do this campaign achievement, or complete the campaign in this amount of time, or get this rank in multiplayer and you get this armor coating for this season. I feel like that might be a testing ground for that.
Yeah.
Right.
And I mean,
we and
Elijah always wanted something like the Vidmaster Challenge to come back. And
Right.
I think something like this, would be something good to bring it back. Like, give us some skins if we complete like these hard challenges. Like, if we do the Lasso campaign, give everybody like a skin. I don't know, like, there's so many achievements or like challenges you can tie it to in Halo that I think it's fair if there's a lot of like unlockable stuff in the base game that you don't have to pay for.
And I think the people who are in the more patient side of the Halo community, the side that's maybe not fully outraged in the same way that the other side of the community is, like, I still think it's an important issue for them as well. Like, even, someone like me who, the armor coating isn't going to be a make or break thing for me, but the way that they handle it and the way that it's implemented is really, really important. And it's going to be something, that I will be quick to criticize the second we actually see it in, like see the results of it and see how it works. Because if it's something that is just so anti-consumer, or it's, they can't just copy what these other games that have gotten away with it do, because they have to also remember the precedence of what they've done, what Halo has done in the past, and they can't just ignore that either. So if they're going to switch to armor coatings, it definitely still has to be very pro player, and it still has to be, an ecosystem where players want to play the game, and it's not just, trying to convince players to open their wallet to play the game.
Yeah. So I have one quick point, and then I want to loop back on something that I think you said, Luke. So I don't know if you guys have played Doom 2016, but when that when in the multiplayer in that game, you had to unlock all the armor colors, and it was the dumbest thing ever. Like, when you first played multiplayer at like level 1, you had some basic colors, but like you legitimately had to unlock like red and yellow, and it was the dumbest thing ever. But
yeah. No, go ahead, sir.
Oh, I was going to say, anyways, what I wanted to say was how you were talking earlier about how you think maybe there's a chance that we have a lot of basic colors by default, and then you unlock more intricate armor coatings through a battle pass or through microtransactions. Here'd be my counterpoint to that. If they're going to give away base colors for free, why wouldn't you come out and say that? Because that's what everyone's pissed about.
Same. I agree with that.
So yeah, I mean, either which they don't have the best track record when it comes to communication, but either they're dropping the ball on communication, or they clearly aren't giving us the base colors by default, and that we are going to either have to unlock them. Let's be real, probably unlock them, but unlock them or buy them or something along those lines.
Yeah, no, I think that's very likely what they'll end up doing. I think the solution is what Luke said, especially considering the amount of outcry that's happened. I think the solution should be they should look at the Halo Combat Evolved palette of colors, and they should have a default, even if they can't do the secondary colors, they should at least allow you to be the main primary color from whatever Spartan you might have been playing through all these years, if that's the case. I mean, I think it's weird that people make the argument, it's like, my original character can't be recreated in Halo Infinite if I can't have my, pink magenta stripe and my orange primary color. I mean, okay, like I'm sorry, at that point, like, but like at least if you're the type of person who has one Spartan color that you rely on as your primary, I think you should be able to access that without too much work.
Yeah, I would.
It'd be interesting if they do an unlock system where, like, the way the MCC Battle Pass works, where you can pick any of the 10, like, to unlock first.
True. Yeah, maybe you could just
That'd be interesting.
unlock whatever
we don't
colors
know.
you want. Yeah, that's the problem.
That's the problem, is that they haven't shown us anything about it.
Yeah, and we have no clue how this ties into actual armor pieces either, and that either could be a huge concern or maybe it's not, right? Maybe all the armor in the game is going to be unlocked through gameplay. I mean, probably not in this day and age, but who knows, because we don't have that information. Now all we know is the armor coatings, right? We still don't know the rest of the pieces that even not, like you were saying earlier, not only do we not know anything about Infinite when it comes to multiplayer, we don't even know enough about the Infinite customization to like piece it all together to see how this is even going to work. We only know the one little piece of it when there's so much other things that have encompassed customization in the other Halo games. There's the actual armor pieces, there's nameplates, there's emblems, there's visors, it's all sorts of stuff.
Right. I would say when the day one comes out of this game, I'm going to look through what you can unlock without spending money, right? And I'm going to be extremely disappointed if we can't get at least the same level of armor and customization that you can unlock with like the base game of Halo 4 without buying stuff from the store. You know what I mean? I don't think Halo 4 had, and I'd use Halo Reach as my example, but Halo 4 just had more than Halo Reach.
Yeah.
Like, quantitatively, quantity wise, it had more. And I do think you're right though. Like, it's very important that with all of the different assets and all the different ways that they can handle customization, they better not be putting everything in some really restricted, locked up manner. I think that would be very self-destructive.
Yes, I agree. But can I also say that if the multiplayer is fun, like, it doesn't matter what like they do with the customizations, right? Like, if the game is fun,
I disagree.
I'm gonna play it. Like, it doesn't matter if I'm gonna be default bacon hair for my Halo Infinite career. Like, if the game is fun.
I disagree because I'll always be upset over the way that they took features out of Halo that didn't need to be taken out.
Yes, I guess so. But they also took out the $60 price tag for multiplayer. So
right, and because of that, like, obviously you have a level of leniency, but I think like when it gets to the point where you're having to spend more than $60 on microtransactions because of how much all the content is gated, that's where the concern comes from. I don't think people are gonna like Halo Infinite though if you're just this default looking character, but at least the game was fun. You know what I mean? I don't think that's gonna pass. I think the customization is actually much more important to the community than just that.
Maybe. I mean, yeah.
I think it's definitely something that's more core to the Halo identity than a new IP, right? When you launch up Valorant and you play default ass Sage or whatever character is in Valorant, unless you're someone that cares, like, it doesn't really matter. Most people, I would argue, in Valorant aren't really incentivized to customize their character or buy skins, but in Halo we have been conditioned over 3, 4, 5 games to have all this customizability for our Spartans. So like you're saying, if it's all gone, that is an issue, and it's all like a spectrum, right? If the multiplayer gameplay is extremely fun, then you have more leniency on how customization is. But if the gameplay is average and the customization monetization model is atrocious, you're going to drop players left and right.
It'd be like if Call of Duty took out skins in the next entry, like weapon skins. I feel like, there were like people wouldn't just be like, "Oh, that's fine." I mean, I feel like at this point, weapon skins in Call of Duty were the main thing that kept people playing because it gave them something to grind for besides like just ranking up, prestiging, or whatever. And if they just removed, you know what I mean, like something integral like that, I think I think that there'd be a lot of. I think it hurts the longevity of a game because people just stop playing because they have nothing to work towards, or nothing to get excited about.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think in this day and age, a game, as sad as it is to say, like a game cannot last long term just off fun gameplay. Like there has to be more to it. There has to be like cool things that you're unlocking and you're grinding for, or like cool customization. There has to be more to the game than the actual just raw gameplay.
Right.
One thing I was going to say, so earlier you were kind of talking about how obviously Infinite multiplayer is going to be free to play, and that in theory is why we're getting this model. And I think one thing that a lot of people almost don't realize, I think because they're so ingrained in the Halo community, is the customization that Halo has had isn't something that other games have in this day and age. Like I can think of very few games where you can do anything other than buy character skins. And so like it obviously sucks a lot. and I don't think it makes it better because we had that before and we're losing it. But it's not like this is putting Infinite well outside the spectrum of what other AAA games or indie games are doing. It's sadly kind of right in line. And I know people hate when Halo takes things from other games, but like
I mean,
it's a game landscape. Like games take things from other games all the time.
I don't know. I'm also just happy that they took out loot boxes. I think that's like the worst thing they could have put in. Like I don't know. That's like actual what I would have gotten upset about if they announced that they're putting in loot boxes, you know. But
because loot boxes are just so like they have the reputation being so anti-consumer.
They're just designed to make you pay. Like for a $10 item you want, it can make you pay up to like $250 instead. You know, like it's just fucking dumb. And so I'm glad that we don't have the Halo 5 loot box system anymore. I know people say you can grind everything, but it was fucking stupid. You like there was like 5 cool armor pieces in Halo 5, and then you had to like gamble for them, like you know, you couldn't just buy them.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big step up from Halo 5 actually, being able to, hey, I like this skin, let me just pay $5, I'll get it, and I don't have to gamble for it. And I mean, maybe you can't grind for it, but I don't think it's too big of a deal. Also, these other games like Fortnite and Call of Duty, they don't have campaign. Well, I guess Call of Duty does, but like Fortnite doesn't have campaign and doesn't have Forge.
Whoa. Have you played Save the World?
Oh my god. Okay. Does that even? Can you even still boot that up? I thought they stopped supporting that.
They did.
I do think they announced
can
they
still
stopped
launch.
supporting it.
Yeah, you can still launch it.
So like, but I'm saying it's different. It's different. Like, what makes Halo players come back is the campaign 2, is the Forge 2, and the multiplayer. So like, you have this holy trinity. So maybe if the campaign and the Forge are good, it can make up for less customization in multiplayer. I don't know.
I feel like custom games is like the number one place you want to show off your Spartan, though.
Maybe, but also, you know, what if you just want to track race because it's fun and you don't need to look cool? Like, I've never looked at someone in custom game, hey, that guy has cool armor. No, like, you know what I mean? What? That has never
I do that all, like, first thing I do.
What do you mean
What do they
there's
look
like 20 armor pieces in Halo 3, Elijah? We have seen them all, like, for the
I know,
last
but I haven't seen them
30
all the
years.
combinations and all the color
Oh, my
combinations.
I
The
feel
primary,
like
the secondary, and what was it called? The tetra?
the tertiary.
Tertiary.
Whatever it's
I
called.
feel
the
like
third one.
back in the day, like during Halo 3's prime, and you had to actually do achievements to unlock the different armors, I think people cared. People don't care now because in MCC you just get them all, and we've seen them all
And
for
I mean,
13 years. But like,
yeah, I mean,
Even-
even if we were still playing Halo 3, like the base
yeah.
version, you know,
Yeah.
we would have seen the Hayabusa armor on everyone for the last 13 years, you know.
Yeah, but like even playing Halo 5, like sometimes you notice someone has cool armor. I mean, some of the Halo 5 armors, they kind of all look the same, but like there's certain ones that are pretty cool, like you said. And if you get into a game with someone that has one of them, I mean, at the very least, you might have the slight thought in your head like, oh, that looked cool, and then you just move on with your day. But
Okay, if they're going to make it where it's just the way that it is, and you have to pretty much spend a little bit of money to get decent skins, the only way I'll ever forgive it is if there's like one free Spartan and it's Fotis, So then everyone who doesn't want to be default Spartan puts the
Oh.
Photos helmet on, and then I can make fun of them.
No. How about this? They make Photos the default helmet, so people will spend money because they don't want to wear
But
the
they
dumb
won't.
Photos helmet.
No, because so many dumb people wear the Photos helmet.
Well, what about the
So
Seeker
keep
helmet?
it.
Make the Seeker helmet the default one. Business practices.
I don't know. I mean, if you wear the Photos helmet, good on you. But I'll tease you relentlessly for it.
So one suggestion that I've seen a lot on Twitter, and maybe you guys have seen it, but I kind of want your opinion, and I want to preface this by saying that we're not game designers. We aren't the ones that actually get paid from our game doing well. We are instead people who just play it. And I think
What do you mean?
that's the disconnect that a lot of people have. But anyways, a lot of people have been advocating and saying that 343, what they should have done was armor coding should have been solely like materials and patterns and whatnot. So you would load up like, I don't know, Stripe Man. You'd throw Stripe Man on your thing, but then you could still personally pick the colors.
I think that's too boring. Like, I don't know. I can like. It's like, hey, you want to pay $5 to buy stripes? I'm good. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I think they need to be more of an incentive to buy something other than just like make your armor look a little bit battle worn. You know?
Yeah, and
I don't
I
know.
wonder. I don't know how much you guys ever played League of Legends, but like when League of Legends
lot.
first came out, a lot of the skins were just like recolors. But if you look at recent League of Legends, the skins are so intricate. But like the prices have gone up a little bit. But like one thing that I really hope we don't see along the same lines of what you just said is really boring ass stuff that costs $5. Like I don't want to pay $5 for some stripes and the color like orange and green. You know what I mean? If we're going to have to grind and unlock these things and we're going to have to possibly pay money, they better look cool.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's why they're doing the coding system, so they can do different styles with different colors. And like, what if they start doing like a Reach series where you have George's brown and it kind of looks, or like, what is he, brown and red, right? And it looks a little like scuffed because George, I don't know, exploded or some shit. What if you have Carter blue, you know? I don't know what's
following you
Carter's
for a second. But yeah.
Huh?
I was following you for a second. You said because he exploded. I was like, I don't know how that would look like it. Yeah, like Zombie George.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I get what you're saying. I think it'd be really cool if majority of the stuff you have to pay for would be like iconic sets. You know, like if you want to look exactly like Carter, and you buy like the Carter set, and it includes the coating that has the dusted armor and the color scheme that he has and stuff. I could get behind something like that. That'd be cool, actually. And then you're still from your own progression, you're trying to make your character look cool, and that'd be cool also.
Yeah, well, I guess I don't know if I have anything else. So, do you guys have any final words?
I guess we should just wait and find out what it looks like when it comes out.
I mean,
They
there's
should show
people
us some multiplayer.
who had a little bit too much of a meltdown, claiming that they're deleting their identity. I mean, maybe reevaluate their life choices.
Yeah, like, I mean, if your original Halo character in your headcanon is so important, and like you know what I mean, like that you feel like less of a person because you might not be able to have the exact colors as the way that they looked in Reach or whatever. I don't know.
If you can't look like Nemo,
I mean,
I'm sorry.
the thing is, I know people have been like, oh, I've always had my same armor set looking the way it did since Halo Reach or Halo 3 or whatever. But I'm like, there's been a lot of people who've had their helmets and armor that they like to wear cut over the years already.
Yeah, they've swapped out
I had
colors
security
too.
helmet. It was gone.
Hayabusa isn't anywhere.
Hayabusa's gone. Scout shoulders are gone. The Recon shoulders are gone. Like the way that they looked in Halo 3 compared to what they look nowadays.
Yeah, so
Isn't the Scout helmet? No, not the Scout. The Rogue helmet from Halo 3.
Yeah.
It was like, it looked like one thing, and then it was gone in Reach, and then they brought it back in Halo 4, but it doesn't look remotely close to what it looked like in Halo 3.
They forgot.
Which makes me think that they forgot, that there already was a rogue helmet in Halo 3, and they just used the word rogue on a completely different helmet. And then they realized like later on, they're like, it's a new variant. But it doesn't even remotely look like the rogue helmet.
Yeah. Good. Yeah, I think one of the biggest issues is 343 just doesn't have a good track record, and so people are unable to put faith in them without having total information. So when we're getting these bits and pieces, you assume the worst. We assume that it's going to be super grindy and super annoying to get basic colors, and everything's going to cost a ton of money and all that, where we don't know. At base level, I don't like the armor coding system. I think losing the color choices probably is bad, but it's just hard to know until we see it all. So
Right.
Well,
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
get that.
yeah, like, it's a communication issue, but I also think the Halo community is very quick to like get outraged about like small things that they don't know enough about, and I mean that's partly through her three's fault too.
Right.
You know.
I think the raise of concern is fair.
Yeah.
Some people probably took it a level too far, maybe, in how upset they took it. Like, I mean, the people crying, like actually literally talking about how their little brother just came into the room crying because they can't look like Nemo anymore. I mean,
is this
I don't
a
know.
specific? You've
This is a
referenced
very-
this
You want me to
multiple
read it?
times.
Read it, yeah, read it.
Is it long?
Yeah.
It's good worth it. It's worth it. We can send you a screenshot.
Let me just go to the best part. It's okay.
Okay.
The title was "My little brother started crying when he learned about armor coatings." Then the guy says, Halo 3 is our favorite video game, and we're very excited for Halo Infinite, but not only because it seemed to be a return to form, but also because this is going to be the first Halo launch we will witness properly. He used to sketch Master Chief Infinite's armor all the time, because in his words, it looks really sharp. Yesterday I was studying for my exams, and my bro was watching Halo Follower. He came crying loudly to the room and said, in the most disheartened voice, I can't make my Spartan look like Nemo anymore. More crying. And then in the same post, he's like, they should have added loot boxes instead. And I'm like, what type of
And they
mental
said that they decided
gymnastics?
they're not going to be buying the free.
Oh yeah, they're not going to be buying the free-to-play multiplayer. That's also a thing. But like, what type of mental gymnastics do you have to do to defend loot boxes because they're taking away like base colors? Even if they take away base colors,
Yeah, I think regardless of how the system turns out, it is a better alternative than loot boxes. The amount better it is will be determined by the rest of the system once we get more information. What I think will be somewhat shitty is if once we get more information, we realize like this isn't even a big deal, and 343 just dropped the ball that much on communication. Like this is gonna sound really weird. I almost like hope that the reason they have presented such crappy information is because the system isn't very good. Because otherwise it's just like, come on, like if you could have expanded on this, you do it instead of letting everyone get outraged. But that's a weird tangent.
You have to wonder how, like, what like the community managers are allowed to say and not allowed to say, because I always wonder if like it might be one of those situations where the execs are like, okay, so you can talk only about this, and then when all the backlash comes, it's like, hey, you should go respond, but remember, don't go further than just what you've already talked about. So they're stuck, like, not able to elaborate, not able to show more stuff.
Oh, for
and
sure.
There's something like bottlenecking communication in that regard.
No, that's a really good point, and I think it's something that it doesn't make it any better, but it maybe gives you a little more insight. I think a lot of people think that like Unisheck or like Postums can just come out and tell us whatever they want to tell us, when that is like far from the case. They are probably like, I mean, I don't know 343 and Microsoft's like employee structure, but I imagine they report to a ton of people up the ladder, and if they want to come out and expand on stuff, I think there is a lot of red tape to it. And another thing to note is like think a lot of people think that like 343 implements these systems because they just feel like it.
Right.
There's so much more that goes into designing a game than just like, hey, like I rolled out of bed today and I think armor coatings are pretty cool, so we're gonna add those in, and we're gonna just delete half the game. So that'll be a good day for us.
Right.
But
just imagine if like the response we got instead was, wow, if you guys are upset about this, you guys are going to be real upset when you find out we're taking the mongoose out. Just like something like I feel like that's what like the execs are scared of happening. Like if they're allowed to communicate about what's going on, like someone's just going to drop it like that.
like when
Oh,
fucking what oh god, I'm blanking the name. The Blizzard game where the guy came out and said, "Don't you guys have phones?"
Diablo Immortal.
Yeah.
Or some shit. Don't you guys have phones?
Yeah, it's like the same thing. Don't you guys have credit cards?
Yeah, true.
Can't you just you know?
Don't you guys
buy
have
some-
parents that can pay for your online skins in Fortnite? Wait, in Halo?
All right. Well, I think we'll end it there. Basically, I think we're kind of all along the lines of it. It might not necessarily be a good system, but it would definitely be nice if we had more information to actually make that decision rather than having to speculate and fill in a bunch of gaps. Is that a fair conclusion?
100%.
Right.
They should have just like, I don't know. I feel like a proper response to the outrage would have been just post a video of someone using it. Like, you know, I feel like that would have calmed down a lot of people, but they didn't do that. I don't
But
know,
the game was
like,
supposed to come out next month. Isn't there like a build of it like at least working?
yeah, there should be.
Dude,
Yeah,
who knows?
yeah. I guess who actually does know? Yeah, but I'm saying like showing off a video of the system would have been a good response, but that's not what they went for. So then we still have this vague limbo that people are stuck in now.
Yeah.
Just wait till we find out that they only just started working on the multiplayer now.
They just implemented this system last week.
What if Halo Infinite's release and development and the info we're gonna go through the 9 circles of hell, and this is limbo, and next we're gonna get something worse, and then it's gonna keep slightly getting worse until we reach like
ODST.
I don't know, treachery, which will be I don't know. They took out
The ODST helmet.
I mean, I guess they took
Like,
out all
that's
the
like-
helmets.
That's the end.
No helmets.
You know there's
Just
a Virgil helmet in Halo 5?
There is.
Yeah, I'll show it to you
What is it
later.
called? Okay, it's not
All right.
ruin Arrash's podcast with
No, you're
our
good.
nonsense.
All right. Anyways, if you guys made it this far in the video, thanks for watching. Go subscribe to Rocket Sloth. They make things. And do you guys have anything you want to plug?
Follow
I
my
Love Bees
SoundCloud.
video.
Oh.
Oh.
What,
Maybe the
when
I
are-
Love Bees video we did. I'm really proud of that.
Yeah.
We worked a little hard on it.
All right, go and watch that. I think it came out Friday or Saturday.
Yesterday.
Yeah, there you go.
Yes,
So
sir.
make sure you go watch that and look out for Luke's SoundCloud postings. He's transitioning to a sad boy rapper, and with
no,
that,
mumble rap.
oh
Sad
mumble,
boy.
mumble rap.
E-boy.
That's the way.
Bad mumble rap.
Sad boy mumble rap, e-boy.
I can't wait to hear the EP. And with that, thanks for watching, everyone.